So we all have things to work on ourselves. And if everybody just focused on themselves and not try to change some undefined global problem that we're never going to end up, getting behind, whether it's a problem or not, it's another matter. Then all we're doing is virtue signaling away from ourselves and our own failings, and not working on ourselves first and foremost. So you should Kaizen yourself first before you start trying to Kaizen the organization, right?
Excellent.
Maybe that's my line. That's my line. Kaizen yourself first.
I love this. I love this.
Others.
So 25 seconds for the second episode. And the key word is Kaizen yourself. Are we game for that? Let's put a thumbs up for Kaizen ourselves.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Marks.
Thank you very much.
DeLuzio, Mark Forkun. Excellent. Thank you very much. Your 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2,
We're in tech time, I guess, Mark.
0. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Dr. M Wadcast, a wadcast with a mission, connecting continuous improvement professionals across the world. Welcome to Dr. M's SMET Show, and we are on episode 2, and I am your host, Dr. M. Episode 2 is in 3 segments. Segment 1 of 5 minutes, segment 2 of 10 minutes, and segment 3 of another 10 minutes. And what are we going to discuss about, or where are we going to exchange thoughts about, is respect for people and respect people. And ladies and gentlemen, the guests that are going to exchange their thoughts on my show are Mark DeLuzio from Arizona, USA, and Mark Forkun from Poland. So what are we waiting for? Let's move over to segment 1 and let's listen to what they have to say.
Mark DeLuzio in Arizona, US, and Mark Forkun in Poland. Welcome to Dr. M's SMET Show, single-digit minute exchange of thoughts. And the thoughts that I request from you is respect for people, respect people. There's 2 words. The second pillar of Toyota, continuous improvement, respect for people. A short introduction of it yourself. Where are you from? I will cover it up in the LinkedIn write-up or the YouTube write-up about you all. We all know you. You are all celebrities. So your thoughts on both these. Tech time, as we call it, 2.5 minutes each. And here we go. Are we ready to go?
Okay.
Here we go. Mark DeLuzio.
Dr. M, are you recording? I don't think you hit the record button.
I am recording.
Oh, you are? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, anyway, my name is Mark DeLuzio, and I'm here in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'd like to say it's a sunny day, but it's a little cloudy. Really quick, my background. I am the CEO and president of Lean Horizons Consulting. This company was started after I left Danaher Corporation in 2001. So we're over 20 years old. We've done all kinds of different things in all kinds of different industries. I'm known as the principal architect of the Danaher business system, and also the principal founder or father, if you will, of what we call lean accounting. And I had a lot of experience at Danaher with our mentors in Shingijutsu, who were the first lieutenants of Taishi Ono, who is the father of the Toyota production system. Been to Japan several times to study, and been doing lean on 5 different continents. So apparently there's nothing up in Antarctica, but maybe I'll get there someday. So anyway, that's it. I am married 42 years. I have 2 children. My younger son got killed in Afghanistan, so I'm what's known as a Gold Star father. And anyway, I really do appreciate Dr. M, and respect for people. Really quick, basically, do the things you say you committed to. That's kind of one of the big premises to me, and give people a chance where all stakeholders win. I'll talk more about that in detail when we get into the meat of this, but really glad to be here with Mark as well, who is in my opinion, one of the great thought leaders in this space called Lean, and so glad we're all together. So thank you.
Mark Forkun, over to you, Poland.
Yes, hello, Mark Forkun. Yes, I'm right now in Poland, born, bred, and educated in the UK, came to Poland in about 94, 95, when the great reformation or the transformation from a state-run economy moved into an open economy. And I came here over as a finance person, finance director. I did a lot of audit and due diligence, but I was very passionate about lean. I was very passionate about leadership since I can remember. I think I read just about everything I got my hands on in terms of leadership. And I'm the principal and co-founder of the Lean Leadership Way Institute. Most of my work is in Poland. Some of it takes place in Germany and the UK. I spent 5 years working with Toyota on developing and running the leadership development program for team leaders, group leaders, and section managers, and then 3 years with key suppliers. And since then, so the last 16 years, I guess, was working predominantly with production companies in Poland, UK, and Germany that didn't exist 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And they're at a certain size now where they really need to put in systems that are going to allow them to continue to grow and be stable. That's my introduction. In terms of respect for people, I have a problem I'm not sure whether it's a question of semantics, but every time I think about respect for people and respect people, 3 words come into my mind. The 3 words are, because I think you have to package this together somehow, I think you have to look at trust and understand how that works in practice in terms of your behavior, respect, and how we address people, and dignity. So for me, those 3 pillars are fundamental. You can't just have a discussion about respect for people. So that's my view.
Well, thanks a lot. So see you on the other side. We do the segment 2, which is of 10 minutes, and you can talk to each other and evolve this concept. So we got 26 seconds left on my clock, and when it becomes red, I stop recording, and then I start recording for the second segment. Are we comfortable? Marks, 2 marks on my show. Thank you very much for being there for me. Here we go. The countdown becomes 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 0.
The key words that I captured from the segment 1, which you heard, is do the things you say you are committed to, give a chance where all stakeholders win, and then we heard that respect for people and respect people, there are 3 fundamental pillars being trust in terms of behavior, respect or how we address people, and dignity. So these are the key words or sentences as you wish that I captured from segment 1 from Mark DeLuzio and Mark Forkun. Let's hear them discuss further in segment 2 of what their thoughts are. However, please jot down your thoughts and the keywords that you captured from segment 1. Thank you, and let's go over to segment 2.
Mark Forkun and Mark DeLuzio, there's a second segment. You'll have introduced yourself and the concept that you have. Let's evolve the concept, and the time starts now. Mark Forkun, you can start. You'll said something beautiful, and I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm going to just sit and watch and hear your talk. Here we go. Time starts now, Mark.
I'm all stressed out about how much I want to say, and I've got to compact it in 5 minutes, but here we go. The member or the employee offers the employer 3 resources. They offer their hands, their head, and their time. And I think if we utilize in the best sense of the word, if we see utility in those three resources, then we are demonstrating through our behavior the optimal use of the hands, the head, and the time that people give. Yeah. So that's three resources that the employee provides for the employer. The employee also expects three types of reward, according to me. Three types of reward. The first reward is they want to be rewarded in terms of material gain. In other words, be paid a reasonable salary. And I think that sometimes is an issue in some companies. The second point is I think we have to work with them in such a way they find meaning in their job. And the third one is they must have a purpose. So the material gain, the meaning and purpose have to be there, utilizing the utility of the hands, the head, and the time that they've given. They offer their time. I think also there are three ways to measure respect for people, and this comes from a discussion I had with the CEO of Toyota in the UK when I joined them. He said, "You've got three KPIs in order that you're going to be measured on: engagement, self-reliance, and problem solving. And if you have," and I remember to this day, he said, "If you have engagement, if your members are engaged or motivated, if they're self-reliant, in other words, they're constantly developing so they can develop their processes and work on different processes and machines and lines, and they are developing themselves in terms of problem solving, then what more do you want from an employee?" Yeah. So there's the three resources, three expectations, three ways of measuring. And then I think there are three resources that we at our disposal as managers, leaders, and consultants, trainers, and coaches, sensei, and that we can use at our disposal in order to satisfy those criteria which I mentioned above. And those are lean tools, lean principles, and leadership competencies or behaviors. Yeah. In other words, one of the things I'm very conscientious of is that if you're together with people 8 hours, you only touch them for seconds during the day. Yeah, it's the touch points that's so important. And those touch points are going to have a significant influence on their meaning and purpose, on their development, on their problem-solving skills, on their self-reliance. I think if you want to put problem-solving respect for people into practice, those touch points have to create value every time you have a touch point. So it could be a morning meeting, it could be a SMET, it could be a problem solving, but those touch points are key to having that fantastic experience. It's like being in an airplane for 8 hours. And it's those moments in the airplane where we have direct contact with the steward or stewardess that are going to make that journey for us. And it's only seconds. It's the smile, it's the thank you, it's the can I help you, it's the on board the airplane, it's the way you come off the airplane. In fact, that was one of the things we used to teach team leaders and group leaders, that every touch point is a moment to show respect, trust, and dignity, and build resources, build the capabilities of these people. So that's what I wanted just to say on that point. I don't know how much time I've got left. I think my time's up. But I'll just say that for me, the utility of a person's time is paramount here. If you employ somebody and then for 8 hours on a shift, you want to make use of that 8 hours. So if somebody's got a cycle time where every 10 seconds they've got a break for 5 seconds, you're not showing respect for people. You know? So there's a couple of other points I wanted to make about Mendomi and Namawashi, and delegating skills, but I think that's what I'd like to say in that five minutes. 5.5 minutes.
Excellent. Come on, Mark DeLuzio, you can take over where he stopped, or you can put your point, and the segment 3, we cover everything.
Well, there's nothing that Mark said I did disagree. In fact, everything he said, I agree with 100%. And when I look at respect for people, Mark and Dr. M, I kind of look at it from the respect that integrity, and Mark mentioned integrity, is a real key thing on this. And I go back to the very simple notion that if leaders do not do what they say, then it's the utmost of disrespect. And that could transform into all kinds, or manifest itself into all kinds of different things. Mark mentioned problem solving. If we really believe that problems should be solved at the lowest possible level in the organization, but don't provide our employees training, don't provide them the time to solve problems, and don't provide them the resources, but have all these banners on the wall that say that we believe in this, that's disrespectful. Our words don't match our actions. All right. And to me, that's a big disrespect. And as a matter of fact, you end up with a bunch of chaos when you don't allow employees to contribute their ideas and improve the work that they do. And that's through the Kaizen process. So what we turn into, our problem solving turns into a series of firefighting activities where the best firefighters are the ones that get rewarded. And we're not really putting out the root cause problem. I was told at Toyota on one of my trips over there that all world-class companies, the difference between world-class and not world-class is a company's ability to solve problems. And they said, even the great Toyota has problems, but we only solve our problems once, okay? Because they go to root cause and it's done, right? As opposed to just putting out the flames where the embers are still burning, and then a month later, that same problem rears its ugly head, is unbelievably disrespectful. So I do believe that the whole concept of trust, and Mark mentioned trust as well, is all about communication. And the more we can talk and have those touch points that Mark talked about, the more I can now, check and verify, and so can you with me, that we're on the same page. We can have a good dialogue to clarify misunderstandings. And then, oh yeah, by the way, well, geez, Mark, you said you were going to allow us to do this, but you haven't done that. Your words don't match your action. If I can get to that point in a leadership employee relationship, or even with your peers, then you start building that trust. But trust to me is something you earn. And I always went by the old doctrine that Ronald Reagan talked about: trust but verify. All right. So that's a real key. Now, when you get back to allowing employees to work in chaos day in and day out with a lot of rework, a lot of overtime, a lot of pressure, right? Cluttered areas, not giving them time to do 5S, for example. That's just pure disrespect. And when you get back to the concept of Jidoka, believe it or not, Jidoka is a tie right back to respect for people, because it is almost inhumane, if you want to look at it that way, to have an operator stand and watch a machine run, okay, because the machine might have a defect, right? So you build that into the equipment. That's a respect for people issue with Jidoka. You would not expect to wash your clothes dryer run and just stand there and watch it run in the event that it might, short out. No, you leave your clothes dryer and go do something else, right? So it's the same concept: standing there idle, not contributing your, as Mark said, your head, your hands, your head. Yeah, you're given time, but your hands and your head. And I really do believe that if you have a opportunity to get all that right, then not only will the employee lend his hand, his head, and his time, as Mark said, but he'll lend his heart as well. Okay, which is probably the ultimate in respect, right? So I came up with a saying: all these different things that we believe in, if you don't have an underlying process to back up all these great concepts like solving problems at the lowest level and what have you, career development, but we don't have a process. If you don't have a process for all the great things that you talk about, then all they are is merely slogans. And those slogans will lead to an immense amount of disrespect, because that's what we kind of call fake lean, right? That's what that is. It's fake lean. So there's a lot more to be said here, but my time is up. But that's kind of how I look at this whole respect for people type of thing. And I didn't get to talk about the different stakeholders in my lean trilogy, but bottom line is all stakeholders need to win. Can't just be the shareholder, can't just be the customer. Employees, shareholders, customers, and Toyota even takes the respect for people principle to their suppliers, to the community, to the environment, and believe it or not, they take it to their competitors. Okay, that's their view. I've never ever met a company before that looked at competitors as a stakeholder. Okay, and that they need to win too on the RFP spectrum. Okay, so that's kind of where we're looking here, and again, Mark and I, maybe we come at a little bit differently. I like the way Mark's put things into threes, which I think is really helpful to remember, and so I don't see any vehement disagreement with what Mark said. Mark had some great insight in that regard. So that's my thoughts.
That's great. And you know what? I just did a little bit of continual improvement right now. I'm going to make it only 3 segments. So this is the final segment where you put both your thoughts together. And the last segment, summarize whatever you have said. And that's for 10 minutes. So the next 10 minutes, the 4th segment is deleted. Okay. So I'm going to stop recording and we go to the 3rd segment and the final segment.
The key words and phrases I could capture from this segment, and I am not going to paraphrase anything what the speakers have said. So here are the key words and phrases that I heard them say. The employees provide 3 resources: hand, head, time, that needs to be utilized as reward by the employer in terms of material gains to the employee, meaning in job and purpose. And the 3 ways to measure it: engagement, self-reliance, problem solving. I also captured that integrity is the key thing. If the leaders don't do what they say, that's disrespect. What I also captured is the importance of communication to clarify misunderstanding. Also, I heard them talk about trust is something that you need to earn. Let's hear, and I think you all should jot down all what you have heard and take note of it as we progress to the last segment 3, where we summarize it, and then we'll capture it and take your feedback that's expected, and please do give us your feedback. Thank you.
So here we have made continued improvement from my first episode, second episode. So I've removed the unnecessary wastage of the 4th segment, and in 10 minutes we'll wrap it up. And let me first understand what both of the geniuses have said. So let me hear. This is what I heard. So I'm going to start the time now. Come on. So this is what I heard you say, that there are 3 things essential. One is the mind, the heart, and the time. These are the resources with the employee, the employer. That's what I heard Mark Forkun say. How do you keep them engaged? And you all talked about the touch point between various levels. And there I bring in Mark DeLuzio, where there are 3 players in that: the stakeholders, the leadership, and the employees. And the touch point that the best I can understand is the interface between all the 3. And how do you engage all these 3 for the benefit of the organization? And in that process, you're respecting each one of them and their contribution and the value addition they're doing to the organization for the betterment of each of them and the community at large. There's the best that I can recall from the summary that we have said. If I have missed out on any, Mark DeLuzio, over to you. You can summarize a little bit that I understood. It is the resource of time, heart, mind, and interface, and getting everybody together for the common good of the organization and the community at large. Over to you, Mark DeLuzio.
Yeah, I think you summed it up correctly. The Lean Trilogy that I wrote was the employee, customer, and shareholder, or ownership if you're not public. And all 3 have to win. And when all 3 do win, the enterprise itself goes on a rocket ship to Mars, because it will be a synergistic effect between all 3. But one of the things I will say, Dr. M, is that how do you determine whether or not the culture is a respectful environment? And there's a number of little tactical things that I use, and a lot of times you could look at the small things that will indicate to you that there's larger disrespect going on. For example, if people come continually late to meetings or meetings don't start on time, then that is a disrespect of people's time. And Mark earlier mentioned time as one of the 3 things that employees offer. So that's disrespectful. And yeah, it happens once in a while, of course. We've all been late, but if it's a continual thing that goes unchecked, then that's a problem. Secondly, I look for things like, are people in a meeting now doing emails on their computer and not listening to the presentation? Or when their cell phone rings, do they pick it up right away without even looking at who it is and start talking right in the middle of a meeting? All these things I'm sure we've seen before, right? Now, in a factory, I love to go into the restroom in the factory. And I love to compare the restroom between what leadership allows in the factory for the rank and file employees versus the executive washroom up in the office, upstairs. And when I look at that, I will bring a CEO down and say, by the way, you should shut the executive restroom off and get this one going. You guys should use this one because this is a pigsty, and this is what you're allowing your people to live in, right? I remember the fact that when I moved my whole finance team out to the shop floor, they were complaining about how hot it was in the summer. Never, ever did they complain that the employees were working in that kind of environment, right? So, it's the little things. You start looking at the little things, and they usually indicate there's larger issues to be resolved. But the biggest problem, I think, in respect for people is not anything that we talked about, but those are all big problems. Don't get me wrong. It's the fact that, as Ono said, and I'll paraphrase, he said, no problem is problem. When you don't recognize the abnormality of your disrespect, that's the biggest problem. And I have fired major clients, big clients, because of that. They just did not see how disrespectful they were to their employees and even into their own leadership. And the abnormal was normal to them. All right. And so not recognizing the disrespect is even more frustrating and more disrespectful than somebody who knows they're disrespecting you. At least you can work with them there because at least you can help define the problem. But when people don't think it's a disrespectful thing, coming late for meetings, starting on time, whatever it may be, right? A dirty washroom. Well, then that's to me is the biggest problem. And if you can't get past that barrier of no problem is problem, then there's a little hope that leadership is going to have the fortitude, the internal drive, if you will, to make those kind of changes.
Mark Forkun, can you just summarize it for me now?
Yeah, there's so much we could talk about here. I mean, I really like the idea about this. It's the small things, isn't it? In a relationship, it's the small things that get you mad. And, and if you want to work on your relationship, you have to respect certain principles, certain agreements. And I remember one of the things we were taught from day one at Toyota was, if a meeting is arranged for a given time, everyone is at that meeting sitting down on the hour on which it was planned to take place. So if it was planned for 10 o'clock, everyone is there at 10 o'clock and the door is closed. And there was a rule. I never actually saw it written down anywhere, but it was a rule that if you are late for a meeting and the door is closed, you don't walk in. You don't walk in.
Mark, can you give me a one-liner? Sorry, Mark Forkun, you can complete yours with a one-liner sentence, if you can.
Right, a one-liner. I mean, I totally. I'm in harmony with Mark in the things he's talked about, and I think there is so much synergy. And I think at the end of the day, if you don't recognize that you are the problem, because respect starts with you, not them, it starts with you and your behaviors and your attitude towards yourself, towards your team, and towards your organization. And you are the protagonist who has to define the organizational culture by your behavior. And therefore, respect for people, trust, and dignity, as I mentioned earlier, is so key to be able to generate those sustainable, exceptional results. You can put all the flags up and all the training, but if you don't start with yourself and your habits and the way you treat people and recognize that there is a problem, one of the problems is actually you, you're not going to get very far. You're not going to have flow.
Mark DeLuzio, the you that you said, what Mark Forkun said, is equally applicable for the employees, the leaders, and the stakeholders. They need to respect the you part of it, where they stand, right?
Well, I think that's correct. And I think the whole notion of, people today, whether it's in lean or not, are trying to change the world, and to no avail. Usually they try to change the world to some really undefined problem with no meaningful way to measure whether or not that problem was solved, if in fact it was properly defined to begin with. So when I ran for Congress, I got this question all the time. And one of the questions I got was, how am I going to put morality and ethics back into politics? And I said, right now, I'm working on making pigs fly. And once I get that done, I'll work on that problem. Okay. It's impossible. I said, what do you want me to do? Hand out Bibles to members of Congress? And even if they read them, So I said, look, work on yourself, like Mark said. We all got something to improve in this regard, right? I'm not a perfect example of respect for people sometimes. I know sometimes I'm disrespectful. I also realize that if you're going to make meaningful change, you have to risk offending somebody. Hopefully you could do it in such a way that it's not disrespectful, but people might get offended, okay? So we all have things to work on ourselves. And if everybody just focused on themselves and not try to change some undefined global problem that we're never going to end up, getting behind, whether it's a problem or not, it's another matter, then all we're doing is virtue signaling away from ourselves and our own failings and not working on ourselves first and foremost. So you should Kaizen yourself first before you start trying to Kaizen the organization, right?
Excellent.
Maybe that's my line. That's my line. Kaizen yourself first.
I love this.
I love this.
So 25 seconds for the second episode. And the key word is Kaizen yourself. Are we game for that? Let's put a thumbs up for Kaizen ourselves.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Marks.
Thank you very much.
DeLuzio and Mark Forkun, excellent. Thank you very much. Your 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2.
We're in tech time, I guess, Mark.
0. Thank you very much.
Kaizen yourself first. That sums it up. What are your thoughts on this episode 2? Please write to us, put it in the comment column, and let us take this forward. Thank you very much for viewing.